Good morning everybody and welcome on into another video where today we're going to be taking a look at it is our Hive Knight build. This was one that I showcased off when we did the Knight a couple of months ago, and is the second in our buildable Hollow Knight character series. Not that this is a formalized series, but this is just one that I really loved. I loved his appearance in game, and I wanted to sort of turn him into the real life model, and also to test if it worked, because particularly for this face here, this is a particularly interesting sort of angled setup, and I wanted to see if it looked any better in person. Spoiler alert, not hugely, but like also shadows do help it. Like I don't think anyone has a huge problem with Hive Knight sort of looking like that. And I wanted to show off some of the cool features of this, as well as I have a transparent rod, because we are going to attempt to do the cool pose, you know, the magic one that's on your screen right now. Unfortunately not the BE today, but I'm particularly pleased with this model. The shaping on it is something I was particularly proud of, and the reason I'm holding him sideways is to show you that I was able to ignore this, we'll talk about that in a second, but I was able to get that sort of articulation into the torso, and because I'm shocked above all else, he stands. He has spindly legs, and I didn't even have to bring in these guys, because originally we thought we were going to have the legs rigid at the hips here, so I would have switched out that this brick in here, that this would have just gone in there, replacing those, and then we'd have a rigid hip, which would have obviously helped the legs. But I don't know, because of the magic of physics, I guess. Oh, immediately though, of course, as soon as we test it, he stands perfectly fine. See, we really love proving our point here on the channel. But yeah, we have a shaped bee that is basically perfect. I ordered the parts for him. I want to show off the posability. I want to talk a little bit more about this. And of course, I want to pose him nice and dramatically as well. So let's get him back on his legs so we can talk about him. Well, funny enough, after that incident, I actually feel like I understand a lot more about why he is stable. Okay, no more messing around. I do understand why he's more stable. You should know by now, but stuff on camera, it never works out. Anyway, this is a full recreation of Hive Knight. It is done in an interesting scale, and that is, of course, designed to scale with Mr. Knight. I will bring him in properly later on. As I've mentioned, we have sort of posable legs. We've got sort of ankle joints here as well, using the candlestick pieces to get the thin legs, and that's one of the things that really stands out for the Hollow Knight character builds, is just how thin and unstable they are. We then got a little bit of texture moving up towards the thighs, and as I've already been showing off, each of these stripes of the bee is protected by a Technic pin, which allows us to get that sort of dynamic curving you would expect to see of these cartoon characters, and allows you to sort of have an off-center and make it look like he's wising up for battle, which is part of why I love the Hive Knight, but also, of course, all of his sounds and movements. Above that, and of course we've got to talk about the shaping, we then have the arms. We have a little bit of rotation on the shoulder platforms, which allows a little bit more of a shoulder movement as well. My joint's quite stiff here, but most of the arm movement is going to come from the elbow. Specifically, obviously, bending like this, but also this is only a 1x1 clip. So what we're going to do later when we're rearranging it is we're actually going to flip that clip around to the other side on the back, so that you can get a bit of back elbow movement as well. Let's attach that back down. One of the other really cool things, and one thing that has really led me to sort of fast track some of these Hollow Knight builds, is the shaping and so on, and just having a new sort of play around with a lot of newer Lego elements. I mean, obviously these shoulder pads are a great example of this, using the new sort of 3-round curves. I say new as if these haven't been around since one of the first, maybe second years of Mario back in 2020, but also these newer dome elements, which then again, I'm saying new, these have been around for at least a year now. That I first saw them come in on C3PO, I want to say, the buildable version. They may have been around longer, but that sort of has helped us to create this really curved shape with very minimal studs. And one thing that I've done with this series is I've really sort of scrapped some of that Lego identity. Unfortunately, I like personally having some studs on here, and I've gone for the all smooth approach. Other arm is the same, except for instead of having a claw for the nail, and it's not really a nail, his sword, we've got this little cow horn hook here grey to sort of just be his little fingies, and then in this hand, of course, that is replaced instead by a fully rotatable spear sword thing. I think for him it is a sword. He doesn't usually quite hold it from the middle like this, but this is sort of in his like sort of stab down attack, and I tried to keep this as thin as possible because these nails really are just sort of really lightweight, and it was one of the challenges we had with the Knight, was keeping it at sort of a size and shape that matches the in-game. So you've used the unicorn horns on the end, and then these bars here to recreate that, and of course this could be one of the spikes that comes off as well. So I really like the sort of the profile and the shaping, and to be honest, the body, like excluding the head, is what I'm most happy with. I really love that we've got that dynamic rotation. I particularly love the shaping on the shoulders as well, and then how that flows down into the arms. I love how the thighs have come out, and also particularly, and what we've got to talk about, is the sort of gradient of the expanding bee body and how that sort of still looks quite natural. In fact, it may look even more natural if I spin this around. I wonder if the body has become inverted. Maybe just a tad. I mean, one thing you can notice right here is that the bottom layer is unfortunately the only house of missing parts so far. I do have the segment that is going to go in here. However, I have not yet been able to acquire the bracket pieces that are needed for it. It's the newer 2 up, 2 down bracket, and unfortunately those are still just rather expensive at the moment. So we're going to leave that for now. But yeah, each segment is free floating. There is one sort of bright yellowish orange part on the base here for his pointer, which unfortunately does not come in yellow, but that's okay. And then yeah, I just really love the use of the 3x2 wedges slopes that have been becoming more and more common in recent years. And then I was worried about how I would round that out into the shape, because obviously the bee is an oval, but the body has to sort of curve in rapidly for the head. Now, for those of you wondering, the head does indeed sit on a ball joint, so can twist to the side as well, and has a little bit of up and down as well, although it's not very much, and you can see already that I'm having to readjust the face with nearly every motion there, so I probably won't be messing too much with the head, I reckon. But there is actually a row of curved tiles, some of the new flatter ones underneath, which really have that sort of sunken armor look, because it's almost like a scallop shell where the bee's fluffy almost looks like it's sitting within there. However, obviously that's not quite the case here because some limitations in Lego as well. Around the back, you can see that top yellow layer is actually brown on the back, and the head joint is actually here, right? You can see that much more clearly there. But I chose to do this in brown because the back of the bee actually comes down lower in game. I'm actually not entirely sure if this is the right amount of stripes, but this is what sort of artistically felt right and definitely doesn't compromise the look. And you can see that I've really enjoyed building up this texture here, and this is what was so fun, again, getting to explore these really unique sort of angles and stuff, like the attachment points on something like him and the knight. There are a couple of legal ones I need to sort out before the instruction release. A couple of like illegal stuff where the brackets then, but getting to play around with creating these compact shapes and having studs facing in almost every direction is a real joy. Specifically layering up textures here, like I knew I wanted to use the tooth piece because it was so close for the fluffy, but how does one create a giant fluffy bee head, especially when one needs to have giant eyes? And one thing I wanted to include on Hive Knight here that I didn't have a chance to include on the Knight was a chance to include insect eyes. So yeah, I can actually poke my hand inside these here as well. And this was done using questionable means, no, perfectly legal techniques of just posing various different bars in places. It's a very mock-like technique, which is something I don't often get to do in the custom set showcase, purely because, well, we're mimicking sets there and I can't like do crazy techniques all the time. Instead here I was able to do this sort of loose angle, which you might think sounds annoying, but once it sits, it very much does sit. The only part of this I don't like is the little lip here, which makes him look like he has sort of a nose, which isn't obviously great for Hive Knight. But generally speaking, if you're looking down sort of more from a higher angle, it really isn't a problem, and I actually really like how that turns out. But yeah, I really appreciate these are hollow. We've got that sort of empty shape, which just allows us, and the reason we've done this is to be able to slightly angle them so that they have that more outwards facing look that you see in the games. Then on the side, obviously I've had to do my best to hide up all the gaps. I probably could slide another plate in there, but I've just chosen not to for now. But yeah, you've got more of the fur that comes together. And then what I kind of, that sort of, every model has an unexpected challenge, right? Like something that you're not expecting to cause problems, and then you get to it in the build and you're like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And for me, that was transferring from the sideways build that we knew we were doing into topwards and getting to that dome, because Hive Knight has an interesting head shape. And then yeah, we were saved by the lower part of Aunt Marge from the Harry Potter line. So this is just a hollow dome. Am I going to risk it? I am indeed, yeah. You can see I've got a technical assembly, and it even beautifully left us with 2 attachment points for these wonderful antenna builds as well. But yeah, changing upright was actually really interesting. You can see, of course, I've got this circle here, which is actually not floating, but is loosely attached. But my favorite technique in this section here was the use of the 4x2 wedges that are both pieces. And I've seen Lego sets use this longer piece when they don't need to before, because there's actually no attachments on these 2 studs, so this would have to be floating, and there wasn't the space for it to be attached using other means. So I used the longer version so it could overhang, and the only downside is it creates a little gap here, which to be honest I don't mind. So it's stuff like that which is what gets me excited, because to me that's clever part usage and the stuff that I live for. So I'm always grateful when I get to do stuff like that. Now, speaking of bits falling off, of course I applied some pressure, so our antennas have gone. And you can see that these are mostly using various different Technic antennas to get the right shape. And then to get that bulbous nature on the end, we've used the BB9E head, followed by the traditional Astromech head. Sorry, that's not the BB9E head, that's the old Astromech head, the conical piece. And these two back to back with a Technic pin in the middle create a really nice sort of shape that's slightly different to each other and suits both the Hive Knight really well, but also the matching the antenna shape. The last thing I wanted to point out, of course, was the base. This was a later addition because obviously I realized he wasn't going to stand up. I was originally going to have him free floating, but I chose to do a hexagon for the Hive. This is sort of designed to parallel with the dirt mouth sort of shell base that we did for the Knight. I realize that's a very vague approximation, however, it is still worth noting. Let me get his arms back on and then we can talk about sizes. So the reason that Hive Knight's arms keep falling off is because they're just attached by two studs to the main body. It's the unfortunate nature of stud offsetting. They're not super thin. And ignore the fact that he's wobbling. They are like fine. He's been on my shelf, which I bump into almost every day, and he's not fallen down. In fact, the knitted version of the Hollow Knight has fallen down significantly more. But yeah, here you can see the height comparison. These two are about right. It will mean that Grim is even taller, which is good. There should be a digital image of that. And it should mean, I think, that Hornet should roughly be just a little bit shorter than the Hive Knight. Or am I giving away spoilers that perhaps I'm doing more? Yeah, I think at the moment I've got 2 more planned. Obviously, we want to get Grim here by the end of the year as well, and mostly because I'm obsessed. Not with him, but with the game as a whole. But yeah, these two look great together. I'm really, really pleased with how this is going, and it's nice to have some more gaming IP on here. I've really been enjoying having these two on my shelf next to something you'll be seeing very soon, the Bulb. It's just been fun, and we're going to take these two to convention as well, I think, because I'm really, really liking how the sculpting is going, and I think it's showing off a new side of me as a builder as well. But again, we've always kind of known I've had this weird thing with creature sculpts where they kind of just work. Right, let's get you out of the way, because this is a really cool comparison, and of course we can have a... but more importantly, I want to get this guy posed dynamically and get the huzzah going. So let's try that now. Okay, let's start. Now, I don't know if this is going to be usable because I don't know how long it's going to be, but we're going to film it just in case anyway. So the first thing I want to do is I want to lay Hive Knight down. I think we're going to go for the back because I'm expecting this to be top heavy. So we'll attach it. Maybe we could get away with 1 stud from the back. Let's try that. So I've got a nice strong base. Right. I know I'm going to have to faff with this arm, so let's take you off. Let's also take your little shoes off because you're not going to need those because you're going to be flying. And then the other thing we need to do is I want to keep it as low down as possible so that he can be as elevated as possible. I don't expect this to be stable at all, but let's take this 2x2 tile off. And I've grabbed one of you, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't think you're going to be... maybe you will be. I was worried you weren't going to be out far enough at the back. Obviously, if we were going to do this permanently, we would get that in yellow. Let's... yeah, as I expected, definitely forward heavy. He's in the air. Okay, I'm going to need a reference. Okay, so I've realised he needs to be on an angle as well, so that's going to be interesting. So before we do that, let's do the arm flip around, because I want this to be coming out the back instead. So we just got to invert the clip. And attach that to there. Okay, so now we can have him sort of going sideways. We'll move this down so you'll be able to see more of it. And effectively that will pop out the side like this. Yeah. Yeah, so if we were angling him like that, we're getting close. And then obviously his his legsies need to sort of bend into the correct position as well. We're getting there. And then obviously we need a twizzle to his body, so we need to angle that around. And then also it wants me to tilt the head. So I think, yeah, if we could just find a way to get him on an angle. Oh my goodness. For some reason, twizzling him has made him really unstable. Okay, I had a faff around. I got extra column because I wanted extra support. I've also just stolen one of these from another model, and we're going to try again. So we see we've got a hinge on here now. He shouldn't be as far forward. It's just not a strong section, is it? Yeah, okay. So the problem we've now got the hinge is like a ridiculously low friction for some reason. Let's go, is it just that everything attached to these guys is low friction though? Is this the actual problem? Because if the problem is connected to the transparent stand. Oh my goodness, I told you this wouldn't be usable. Okay, attempt 3. We're gonna have a Technic pin in the top. That doesn't have great friction, but it'll do. Let's just see if disheveled bee, I haven't fixed them yet, actually fits. Firstly. Secondly, is he gonna hold himself upright? No. Why no though, is my question. I don't understand. Oh. Oh, this is way too much fun. The laws of physics are causing trouble. That's for sure. We're just going to use this hinge to keep it together. Very cool. Almost all the limbs are off the bee now. I will take a solution where I have to hold him. That is also fine to me. So the problem I'm now realizing with this option is that as soon as he goes off center of gravity, he is going to spin because he is so unbelievably heavy. And like, I promise there's not an insult to the bee. It's just the facts. Okay, so what we've learned is that I can indeed get him in the air. That is fine. He is huzzahing. As soon as I angle him like 5 degrees, he is going to fall. Let's give this one good run for its money. Let's give this one good attempt. Okay. Right, not off to a promising start. As I attempt to get the bee back together. Because what's the point in having a Hive Knight if he cannot huzzah? Actually, there's many points to having a Hive Knight. You should acquire a Hive Knight. Specifically a Lego Hive Knight. You should look after the bees too. We're not doing this for bee awareness, but bees are cool. I like bees. I don't like just killing bees in video games. Right. Okay. It's very much, yes, my Hive Knight is working, but he's flying right now. As soon as I try and put him on the ground and demand stability from him, I have a feeling he is going to fail me. Oh my goodness. His arms are just... Stop it. Okay. Oh, oh, oh. Huzzah! That looks about right. No, no. Yeah, there you go. Okay, on that note, thank you for watching, guys. Enjoy Hive Knight. With more friction, I could get this working. I don't have the parts on hand, so he's going back on my shelf. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.